to his world by what you're pulling us in and you're giving us tidbits, but you're not giving us all the answers. Can you tell us more about the process in the writing room?
Well, for me, that's the most fun thing about television, serialized entertainment, really, is that you don't have to give everything away at first. You can kind of peel the onion, and that's the really exciting stuff, is to give it, to start with the top layer and pull everything back episode by episode. And yeah, there are surprises. He has secrets.
Right.
And there are things in his past that make this particular case really meaningful to him. And you should wonder whether you can trust him. All of that is the fun. I write television because I'm always looking at the world through some other perspective than my own. If I'm in my car, I'll look over and see somebody driving next to me and think, what's going on in their head? Like, what do they do for a living? What's that song playing? Why do they listen to it? What would it mean to them? What's that thing on their dash? And I start to fill in an entire story about who they are and where they came from and try to imagine the world through their eyes. And that's always what I've done since I was just a little girl. It's like playing dress up with somebody else's life in a way. You can kind of put yourself in their shoes. And so when I write or when I run shows, it's about putting yourself inside of somebody else's world and trying to see it through their eyes. I never believe in bad guys. There are no such things. Everyone's the hero of their own story. And that's what's always really fun to write, are the people that are morally complicated, like all of us actually are or are capable of being.
I love that. It's not always black and white. There's gray. And a lot of characters, I'm the hero, I'm the bad guy. I love when it's mixed because you have a bunch of layers and you never know, are they going to make the right decision or are they going to be the quote-unquote bad guy this time? It's always like interwoven.
Right. I mean, it just shows also in terms of television, there's so much out there, and that's why I'm so thankful to AfterBuzz to have these platforms where we can just like dissect, because there's so much to talk about. And we have shows like Sacred Lies. We have that just discuss cults. Taylor and I did a Cult and Extreme Belief show, which is an A&E show that's super fun. So our audience, I really urge you to go on YouTube and subscribe to. We have a dramas channel. We have a reality channel. Like any genre that you like, we have a channel for. And what's really cool about YouTube, if you like just subscribe, then it kind of gets catered to you, and you kind of get, it's like a Netflix of a sort. And I'm so happy to be adding a Facebook Watch to our roster. Awesome. It was super. This was the first Facebook Watch show I'd seen, and it was super easy. I didn't even have to download an app. Just go directly like on a little tab and type in even on Google. Super one click is the first thing that pops up. Did you guys enjoy the Facebook Watch experience?
Yeah, I did. It was very easy, and it's all free, correct? All of the series. That's very unusual nowadays.
I'm all about free. I'm lazy, man, so like I'm always on Facebook, so I like to do the show right on Facebook, so I appreciate you.
You know what else is super cool about being on Facebook that I wasn't prepared for till we premiered 2 days ago? Is that I get to watch the amount of people that are watching my show, and I know every minute of every day how many people have watched it, and then I get to actually hear what they think right away, and they can talk to me, and they can talk to my cast, they can talk to the production designer, they can talk to the sound engineer. Like, everyone's on Facebook, and everybody on this show I know just really wants to engage with people and talk about what they did because they loved it so much. So
that's awesome.
It's the coolest thing ever. I didn't know how cool it was going to be until it started, and now I'm loving being able to interact with the people who are really getting to absorb the context.
So you're definitely in the comment section talking to people.
Oh my God, I'm looking at it. Right now, it's a little obsessive. I'm going to have to stop because I just can't. I'm like liking everyone's comment when they say, it's good. I'm like,
yeah.
Thank you.
I love that.
Oh
That's awesome. That makes it more of a personal experience too. Everyone loves to interact with people who have been involved with the show. It makes it more exciting for them.
Yeah, and later on the show we'll post some of those comments from the live Facebook. I mean, again, I think it's really cool to see how television is growing. You're not necessarily attached to a big network, and now it's more digital. And like you're saying, as a creative, to have that proximity to your fans is so cool. And as a community, I really enjoy that too. I was hopping in the comments to see what people were thinking, and it's this whole community, Sacred Lies community.
Yeah.
Let's move on to a character. So Philip, who's a schizophrenic. So he's the first person we see on the floor in the first scene, and then later on we kind of figure out what had happened to him. He was attacked by her in honestly a pretty violent way. I had never seen a character with such green eyes. With I guess he looked like almost like a little demon. Did he scare you, Evan, when you first saw him?
Yeah, it was crazy because because first I was like, man, how did she take this dude down? Because he had, had the scary eyes and things like that. It's very mysterious the way it was shot in the darkness, and I just got done watching a horror movie yesterday, so it was like really kind of like got me at the wrong time. So I like that there was a little bit of a scary element to the show, you know what I mean? Because I really did not know what to expect when I first put it on, and I like being pleasantly surprised like that. So it was nice.
Yeah, his eyes were like you were saying, it's almost like inhuman, which is why
Absolutely,
that's the whole point of it. But you could just see it behind his eyes. He was up to no good.
Yeah, and like I forget which character it was. I think it might have been the sheriff. I was like, yeah, I mean he's off his meds, but he's like pretty harmless. And I'm like, but do you think so? Like I don't know about that.
Just remember though that you're seeing the world through her perspective right now.
Yeah.
Just
Very
remember
true.
that, like, whatever she escaped from or wherever she's coming from, she has a very particular point of view that may or may not be the truth.
absolutely.
Yeah,
Right.
that's a great point because those eyes were so green, and as you're saying, it's just that is that really what she's seeing? And then she refers to those green eyes as God eyes, and that she was trying to kill God. So hopefully, I mean, I'm sure we'll learn more about that. But I was very surprised. I'm like, oh, that's why, and
Right.
she just showed how much like anger and so much trauma that this poor girl has.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Because if in her cult, it's a religious cult, and they are striving to be more godlike, is what I'm assuming. So for her to want to kill God, there's a whole backstory there.
Whole
of
lot going on.
When and how she turned and made the flip on like, no, this is not what I want anymore. We don't know yet. So that entire storyline is a huge gap where I'm just like, okay, we have a lot of filling in to do. So I'm interested to see how all that's going to work out.
Yeah, I think it's really neat. And as mentioned earlier, Taylor and I covered this show for AfterBuzz called Sin and Extreme Beliefs, and that was this idea of survivors and how important survivors are. And then you talked about that. Was one of my favorite scenes was when Dr. Wilson was saying that history is told by the survivors, and there's something so powerful about that. And I feel like there's a lot of respect when this show is, it has some sci-fi, some drama, but there seems to be like a big respect for the idea and the notion of surviving a cult. Can you speak a little bit more on those decisions?
Well, something that some people know about me, but is that I grew up in a cult for a couple of years. When I was a kid, I was a part of the Rajneesh cult. So if you've seen Wild Wild Country, I didn't live in the Oregon commune that all kind of went to hell. Spoiler alert. But I lived in a commune in Laurel Canyon that was an offshoot of the Rajneesh cult. And I say cult loosely because when you're in it, you don't think you're in a cult. You think you live with a bunch of friends of your mom's who are kind of cool and throw a lot of parties. And that's really what I remember. I had a very positive experience. I had a lot of fun. It felt like an endless party for about 2.5 years, and nothing sort of traumatic or awful happened to me at all. The thing that was interesting to me about it was they would all sit on the floor. I remember in this big living room. Weirdly, we lived in a house that belonged to the band The Monkees, who are some of the people who performed the song I'm a Believer, which is all sort of tied into. So we lived in this big giant house, and they would all sit on the floor, and they would watch VHS tapes of their guru, Rajneesh Bhagwan. And he would be telling these discourses and stories. And I was like 6. And I would sit there and think, I mean, this is all fine, but I don't get what they see. Why do they worship this guy? And my whole interest was not so much in I want to worship this man, but in how do you become that man? And my whole life after that, I was just really fascinated in that belief and that need to believe in something that so many people seem to have. And I don't know that I have it, but I have a very strong intellectual curiosity about that feeling. And so our goal with the cult element was not to judge the people that go into this thing, but to try to tell the story of what it's like to have that righteous sense of purpose and that belief in something and then have it kind of fall apart and all the steps and phases of how that happens. And that's a lot of what the show covers.
What do you think draws people into cults? What do you think is the allure to a person that just falls into that? Because it has a negative connotation, a negative mystique about it, but from a different perspective, it's not like that at all to some people. Yeah,
I will say I think a lot of people are drawn in by looking for a sense of family, a family that maybe isn't the one that they had growing up. A lot of people aren't born into families that work for them or that really understand them or that are functional. So I think a lot of people are looking for that other places. And then also just a sense of meaning, of belonging to something, that there's a purpose to your life. One of the things that can happen is that when you get depressed over your life is just, why am I even here? What is the point? And we have so many choices these days in our modern lives of things that we could do or be, and sometimes that makes you just kind of feel like, I don't even know where to start. And a cult, I would imagine, gives you a direct sense of, if you just believe in this thing, if you just follow this thing, then everything in your life will make sense. And I think for a lot of people, it works.
That's an interesting, that's a very interesting point of view, because I feel like a lot of people don't look at it like that. They just think, oh, this is something negative, they're up to no good, or when they
hear that word cult, it just they feel a certain negative way about it.
Yeah.
Instead of approaching it like it's a religion, they're like, okay, well, wait a minute, this person, all right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is there any specifics from your childhood that we're going to see on screen?
Well, the show is not a direct sort of it's not directly based on anything from my childhood, right? Mm-hmm. I actually had a really positive experience. Nothing bad happened to me in that way. So no, but there are details that I always you always bring them specificity. For instance, all of the cult members wear blue, and they wear a specific shade of blue. And when the cult I was a part of, they all wore red and orange and purple. And so what we would do is we would take all of our clothes and they would dye them in one big sort of vat. Oh. So my socks, my underwear, my t-shirt, my pants, like everything would be the same color of red, right? And imagine that me and then 10 other kids are going to public school wearing those clothes.
Yeah.
And what that experience was like, right? And it just, it's so details like that I feel like we put into the show that are subtle. And then, of course, just some of the emotional questions that I ask about cults. But our cults, spoiler alert, obviously, the girl has no hands and something happened to her there. So it's not a good place ultimately. And that is not a reflection of my childhood experience.
Wow, that's so interesting. Mm-hmm. I again, like this show keeps on just having these dialogues. I think are really important, and I love being pulled into the Sacred Lies world. And another conversation that we kind of had between Angel is that she was saying that you for sure are going to join the Christian girls, and she's like, but I'm not Christian, why would I join them? She goes, well, you have religion in your blood. And this idea of you're part of this religious cult and then you leave it, where are you left with your faith? I thought that was such a great way to open up that dialogue. And it seems very complex notion. Do you guys agree?
Very complex.
For sure.
Yeah, just because one of those things where she can sense that you might have a not an affinity towards Christians, but you're religious in some aspect. There's something in your heart that makes you a part of something, so she doesn't know. She kind of rubs her the wrong way, but like I said, I think there's a lot more to Angel than meets the eye.
Yeah.
I think it was interesting to see how Minnow might not be exactly lined up with the beliefs of her cult too, because we kind of get that in where she's like, well, the prophet said that it was unnatural for all these people together. And then Angel's like, oh, well, I've met a lot of people who have problems with that. And she's like, I don't have a problem with that. Yeah. So I'm like, was she, in conflict with some of the beliefs? Like, were they not as straightforward as we're thinking? Like, I'm really anxious to see the more, logistical side and technical side of what they actually believe, what they actually did. And I'm really anxious to see that in the upcoming episodes.
She's definitely a rebel. You can tell. She's not just the by the book person, like believing everything that everyone in her family or friends have told her to believe. She's starting to get her own ideas, and she's maybe seeing how certain things are not ethical or right or morally right in her beliefs.
Yeah. Well, I think that kind of wraps up our discussion on this review of the show, unless you guys have any last thoughts you want to bring up before we head into our other segments.
I'm going home tonight, and I'm going to be watching the second episode.
Yeah, same.
Because I had to talk about it, so we didn't spoil the second one for you guys. But I'm going home tonight and watching this.
I know.
Aw, thank you guys.
You have a hit on your hands.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You have a hit on your hands when we're all just like, oh, want to see the next one. Evan, do you have anyone in our live chat that we would like to shout out? Because we love you guys so much for tuning in.
Oh yeah, my man Johan Pena's in there. He's always watching. He's like my favorite person. So always glad he's in watching. He's like a super after buzz like guy. So,
all right.
Shout out to Johan. He watches everything, and he's always positive. He's always tweeting. He's always retweeting.
We like that.
Shout out to Johan Pena. I'm sure he's watching the show. And Phil's watching. Phil Svitek's watching. Kevin Undergaro said that he just caught the show. It's amazing. You're an amazing creator.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So yeah,
That shouldn't come of any surprise, though. I mean,
you've done a few things.
That's right.
I also kind of just want to say this is like a little bit off topic, but I love how much like comedy is sort of infused into this too.
Yeah.
Like especially all the little puns and jokes like with her hands. Like she's like, "Well, I can't really open that. Now can I?" And
Yeah.
and all of the little like puns that are kind of infused into this. And just going back to kind of what you said earlier about like showing handicaps kind of on TV. I didn't honestly even think about that when I was watching this because I think that you guys are doing such a good job already about making us forget about that part of it. Because kind of in the opening scene, we established that, you know, we kind of bring it up every once in a while, but she really is just like a not normal, I guess, but I mean, she's just like any other person, and that's like the least interesting part of her. And so I think that's so cool because it's not in your face at all about like, oh, she's doesn't have any hands. It's just a really interesting sort of way to like bring representation. So
Right.
like props to you for that
Thank
as well.
you. It
Yeah.
was so important. That means so much just because it was so important that she's never a victim.
Yeah.
We didn't want to just make a show where you just are, oh, feel sorry for the poor girl lost her hands. We make a show about a survivor. We want to make a show about a badass.
Yeah.
And
So-
she never lets it define her. You know, she has, it's amazing.
yeah, as Angel puts it, she's handy capable.
Yeah.
That was really, really cute. Another great one-liner there. Let's head into our special segment
do
that
it.
Taylor has with us. She's prepared some little trivia. We like to call this trivia time with Tucker.
Yes.
So afraid right now. I apologize in advance. I know nothing about anything.
Well, we can all play. I'll be the
Yeah.
little
Thank you.
moderator of this. But there's just some questions about some of the actors. So if you're like fans of them, you can get more familiar and know where to go to find more of them in between waiting for this bomb show every week. So which sci-fi show has actress Kiana Madeira, aka Angel, not appeared on? So which one has she not appeared on? A, Winona Earp, B, Dark Matter, or C, Killjoys?
Dark Matter. No? Kill
Does anyone else have any?
I'm going to say not Winona Earp.
Okay, well, it's actually not Killjoys.
I'm sorry, Kiana. I love you.
Okay, it's all right. But you guys can go catch her on Winona Earp or Dark Matter if you're a big fan of her, which I know I definitely am already because she
awesome.
killed it.
And make sure to check out the after show once you do, because
Yes.
we got you covered here.
Yeah, we do. So Kevin Carroll, aka Dr. Wilson, was in the critically acclaimed show The Leftovers. What was his character's name? We have A, John Murphy, B, Joe Smith, or C, James Madison.
James Madison.
John Murphy.
John Murphy's correct.
There you go.
I
There
do
you
know
go.
that. I'm a huge Leftovers
There
fan.
you go.
Perfect. See, you're doing great. And finally, which young adult movie did Elena Kimporis star in? A, The Fault in Our Stars, B, Before I Fall, or C, Paper Towns?
Ooh.
I know.
I want to say Paper Towns.
It's like with a question mark.
Before I fall.
Correct.
Oh.
Ding, ding, ding.
Ding, ding, ding.
See, you did like 2 out of 3. You got
Yeah,
it.
We
You
have
know.
a clear
pretty
winner.
great. We have a
I'm
clear
sorry,
winner.
Kiana. I love you.
Awesome.
But speaking of Elena, she did such an amazing job just portraying this character. Do you have any tidbits you can share with us in terms of the casting process?
Oh my God. It was a worldwide casting process. It went on for 4 months. We looked in Australia, we looked in England, South Africa, Canada, US. We saw hundreds and hundreds of actresses. Elena, the audition piece was singing the song I'm a Believer, right? And what we were looking for was somebody who wasn't singing that, like, we're singing a pretty song and I'm performing. We needed somebody who understood that this was a memory and it's attached to something important and it's raw and wasn't afraid to not sound perfect and not look perfect. And that was her audition, and it just blew me and the director and everybody away. And she had to spend about, total of 6 months with her hands taped up. She had to learn to do all of these things that, in a way, I don't know what it's like to not have hands, but in a way I imagine it might be harder to try to do what she had because she had the actual appendages, but she couldn't use them. So she constantly had to have them in these really odd positions while trying to emote and act and make it all look like effortless. And I'm not trying to pick up the, she had to make everything
Wow.
seamless. and be super aware because it was all VFX. She had like green dots all over her, and like it was just such a complicated performance to find a young actress of her age to be the center of a show and do all of that work with prosthetics and all of that stuff was really, really challenging. And she is epically talented.
Wow. Such a
So
great job.
incredibly talented.
They made it look so realistic too. Like you would have thought that the actress, didn't have hands. Amazing how you guys did that. I did want to say, I know that I read in an interview, thehollywoodreporter.com, that your parents were creatives. So did they play a big part in who you are today?
Absolutely. My parents played a big part. My father was a playwright. Not a very successful one. He was an underground playwright here, mostly in Los Angeles, and his name was Neil Tucker, and he was really fabulous. And unfortunately, he passed away from AIDS back in the 90s, right in the height of the crisis before the drugs were out. So super sad. He was an active, big part of the gay community. And my mother is still alive, and she's in Spain, and her name is Joy, and she was a fashion designer and costume designer, and incredibly creative my whole life. And they both pretty much identified that I was a writer when I was about 3 or 4, and encouraged me to do that, and left me alone to kind of pursue all of my wacky, crazy choices in my life, and have just been so supportive.
That's amazing.
That's so neat.
Yeah, if you guys make sure to check out that article that was written on thehollywoodreporter.com, because I learned so much about you in that interview. And it was just crazy to see everything that you've gone through in your life. And, coming from, the Colts to going to Spain and then coming back, and just your journey. So guys, please check that out. I learned so much.
Yeah.
I just want to know, and like you're obviously so inspiring, especially I feel like to people who want to maybe break into this industry, either as a showrunner, a writer, producer, anything like that. Do you have any advice for anyone looking to kind of break in?
I absolutely have advice for anyone breaking in, and my advice is there's no escaping making your own original work. There's no shortcuts beyond that. You have to just keep making things because you're not good yet if you just started. You may think you are, and it's going to take years for you to be good. But if you keep doing it and keep creating your own work, eventually you can do this. Big thing is don't just try to imitate everybody else. Figure out what your story is. What do you have to contribute that's different than anybody else? And keep making that even when people tell you, no, that's not good, because next time it will be.
Yeah. Well, you're contributing to so much to the show. I mean, writing, producing, just how is it wearing so many hats on set?
It is the most incredible job in the entire world. Being a showrunner is the very, very best thing to do. It's the hardest thing every day, and there's no formula, and you never know what to expect and what disasters are going to happen. You have to be able to manage about 600 different types of personalities.
Wow.
And you also have to be able to go away and sit down and fill a blank page with a script and you have a really strong point of view. Most of my job all day is making really fast decisions, and they have all kinds of consequences. So it's like gray or black, this person or that person. Do you want her to say this line or that line? Can we cut this moment? Everything that you do, you can't sit there and think, oh, I don't know, maybe let me talk to somebody else. You can't. You just have to make a choice and live with that choice. And so, that's the biggest part of it. So you got to have a strong point of view, be a strong person, and also, though, most importantly of all of that, I think, and isn't focused on enough, is try to be kind, because so much of what we do is the process of making it. It's not just getting to see this show and now you're all like, oh, do you like it? Do you not like it? It's our lives, the people who do this, are lived while we make things together. And so I've never always been the best person, but I'm working really hard to be a good person and a good boss and a good part of my community as a filmmaker, because I think that's almost more important than whether or not the work is good.
Yeah, I love that idea. The joy of the process is something that some people take for granted, but as you're saying, it's so important. Once you have that joy of the process, you're able to have a show so rich like Sacred Lies. So thank you for that. Thank you for having such a great team and letting us be entertained in this way.
Yeah.
We're going to head into our last segment, which is our prediction segment. Oh. A little cool sound drop. And some lights.
I'm scared.
Spooky. Yeah. It's going to be fun. In predictions, we kind of talk about what we theorize on what we think is to come, what we would like to happen. I know you can't really spoil anything, so just sit there as we theorize.
Okay.
We're not going to sit here and be like, so what are your predictions? You know?
That'd be bad. I would just be ruining it for all of you.
Well, Dakota, start us off.
Yes, my biggest prediction is obviously she's rebelling, right? So she rebelled from the cult, and somehow that contributed to her losing her hands in some way or another.
Yeah. So I know just based on IMDb and stuff, we're going to actually see like the cult leader, and I think someone related to her, if I got the last names right, if IMDb got the last names right, let's be real. But I feel like we're either going to get some flashbacks or maybe we'll have some people kind of more survivors come out of the woodwork that, you know, no one really knew about previously. So I'm excited to see more of that cult aspect, like actually visualized instead of just kind of alluded to.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. That's probably where my predictions go. Like trying to see more layers of the cult, the inception of the cult, what's going on in the cult. Like that's because everyone else has their own little ideas, and she's being kind of tight-lipped about it. So I think it's gonna be cool to get some of that backstory.
Yeah, I'm excited to see also who's in hiding, because we know that, you know, there's 2 dead bodies, there's her, and then there's some people who are in the woods and who are attacking Dr. Wilson.
Yeah, somebody knocked out the doc.
Somebody knocked him out. So I can't wait to figure out who did that. But unfortunately, we're out of time, and that wraps up our show. Thank you again so much for coming by. This was the best, so I hope you enjoyed yourself.
Oh my God, this was so fun. Thank you guys so much for watching the show and supporting it, and we need all of your support right now. We're a new show, Peak TV, so we appreciate all the love.
If people want to keep up with you, maybe on social media or anywhere else, like, where can people find you?
I'm on Facebook.
Great.
There we go. That's the best one.
And Facebook is where we'll be every week, Facebook Watch. You can also follow me on Instagram at Bonjour Juliette. Dakota, what about you?
You can find me everywhere at Mr. Dakota T. Jones.
You guys can find me on Twitter at alphabet_Ann and on Instagram at Taylor_Gates_.
Evan T. Mac, Instagram and Twitter. I'll let your boy.
Thank you again. Bye, guys.
Bye.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.